Space travel. Is it a myth?
Hello, welcome to another episode of This Uncanny Earth. Tonight we go behind the costumes, behind the candy, to where something older lies. Blood, fire, and bones. Tonight we carve into the truth of Halloween, the masks, the sacrifices, and the real face beneath the pumpkin. This is This Uncanny Earth.
Hello and welcome to a very late start to This Uncanny Earth. We had a little snafu. I don't know what's going on with that intro, but that intro, I click it, it goes off. I clicked it again, it went off again.
The tapping is sensitive. It's a real sensitive interface. I don't know. I think they've tried to update it a little bit and they've made some tweaks to it, and it's a little bit too touchy.
Okay, so we'll have to figure out a way to kind of fix that. Hopefully we can run that. Anyways, tonight is Steven's show, and he's going to be telling us about Halloween. So, Steven, before we get into that, any news, anything you got? We got a cat in somebody's lap. Okay.
Yep.
Any news, anything you guys got going on you want to say before we start the show?
Cat ripped the curtains out on my wall, so probably don't get a cat if you value your sanity.
They'll do that. They will destroy
Yep.
everything in your entire house, and they'll smile at you while they do it.
Yep. And laugh in your face, meow in your face. Yep. So, but if there's nothing else, Steven, go ahead and take it away.
All right. So, on Halloween, everyone gets the candy, the costumes, the pumpkins, but somewhere deep down, there's something more to the night of Halloween. Before the churches, before the skeleton props, what was it really? Why do we gather in the dark to celebrate fear? So, I wanted to start out by asking you guys, what's the first time Halloween ever scared you? Not entertained, but actually disturbed you. Let's go ahead and start off with Spider first.
I'm not sure that I've ever had a moment like that. I was kind of a peculiar child, which I'm sure strikes no one as surprising. There were, my parents were always good about, despite being very religious at the time, they were very good about, you can dress up as whatever you want. I dressed up as a little devil one year when I was 5 or 4 or something like that. So again, surprising no one. But we didn't often go to haunted houses. We didn't go to the real spooky things, and we didn't do spooky things in my house. We did dress up in the candy and Halloween and stuff, the trick-or-treating, but we didn't watch the scary movies. We didn't even that. I don't remember which one it was called, Ernest Saves Halloween or whatever it was called. Whatever his Halloween movie was, we weren't allowed to watch that because it might have been too scary for us. So that's how my mom and dad were at the time. So we didn't get into that kind of thing. So Halloween as a holiday never came off as something menacing or something worrisome to me. I was very practical, and I just saw another opportunity to get a bunch of sugar.
Yep. That's how it was for me. And what about you, Rob?
Halloween and stuff like that was different for me too. I got to dress up in whatever I wanted, but like Spider, we never did the whole spooky movies and things like that. I never had to. It was a free candy day, to be quite fair. I dressed up once as Casper the Friendly Ghost, and I had with the plastic mask. I was probably like, I don't know, like maybe 4. I had gum in my mouth and I fell asleep and I woke up with it in my hair. So that was a real fun adventure for my folks. But
That was terrifying.
Halloween was just like a time of like costumes and candy. There wasn't really anything. We didn't have like big elaborate Halloween extravaganzas. And the people down the street from us, or down the street from my grandmother's, that's why I would trick or treat. They would always have Halloween parties, but they would have it during trick or treat. So you could like stop in, get candy, see like their events set up. It was cool, but Halloween wasn't really a big deal in my house either.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was there's this movie called Haunted House on Haunted Hill. Not sure if anyone's ever seen that one or not specifically, but I remember watching that when I was fairly young, probably a little younger than I should have been watching that movie. And I remember it really terrified me. But it was also probably one of the things that started my early interest in horror, to be fair. And they had the scene where they turned the chair around and the person's face was carved out like a pumpkin. And I was like, ah! But, it's like little kids, they get scared of everything,
Yeah.
So, but historically, October 31st marked Samhain. I know it's Samhain, so a lot of people, myself included, often pronounce it Samhain, but Celtic is a little bit weird, and technically it's pronounced Samhain. It was the final harvest before winter in the Celtic lands. They believed the veil between worlds opened and the dead could cross over into our world. You either honored them or try to hide from them, and that is where our story begins tonight. So, why do we wear masks? First, I'm going to ask your opinion. Why do you guys think we dress up for Halloween? Who or what are we pretending to be or hiding from? Let's go ahead and let Rob go first this time.
That's a tough one. I think some of it dates back to our ancestors who wore the masks, I would say, in reverence, maybe to the people that have passed on or to whatever spirits that they believed in. But then I also think, too, that people just like to have fun. And what better way to dress up and act goofy than to, dress up and act goofy and wear cool masks. But I think a lot of it probably stems from some ancestor worship or some deep-seated spiritual beliefs.
Yeah, I like that. It reminds me of like Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, in like Hispanic cultures.
Yeah.
Spider, what do you think?
A lot of cultures believe the best way to defeat your fears or to defeat your enemies is to embody them or to become them in some fashion. We have tribes in certain parts of South America and places like that where they take it literally, and you have cannibalism and cannibalistic tribes, and they, you become your enemy and you absorb them so you don't have to be afraid of them anymore. I think in more, I don't want to necessarily say civilized, but the more modern countries, like in Europe and places like that, they would dress up again because it embodies something that you're afraid of, and it gives you a little bit more courage, thinking that, look at me, I'm so funny, I look like that werewolf that I thought was down in the woods last week. Ha ha ha! I don't have to be afraid of that because look how funny I look. Yep. and a lot of that was prevalent when some of our earliest records of festivals like this took place.
Yeah.
It's to really take on the aspect of something that's frightening and show that, it's not really that frightening because look how silly it is when you actually do it.
Yeah.
Nowadays, of course, it's mostly just a chance to be creative, to show off a different side of yourself, to be goofy without any sort of societal blowback, because you can't just go into work every day and be like, the meme says dress for the job you want, so I dressed up as Batman. Ha ha ha. And dressed up as Batman. If you're working in an office every day, you're gonna get fired. But on Halloween, you can dress up like Batman, you can dress up like whoever you want, you can do, and everybody else, most people are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how goofy you look, because somebody else looks just as goofy as you do, if not goofier. Somebody's dressed up as a giant hot dog or something, And so it's another way to kind of bond with your community by everybody just throwing off the fact that you need to have some kind of decorum. You can all look ridiculous together.
Yeah.
And that's another fear that people have. People have a fear of looking ridiculous in front of other people. So it's kind of a similar line of thought buried in the subconscious.
Yeah. And while you were speaking about dressing up in silly things and scary things as well, it actually made me think. I saw this YouTube skit a few weeks ago, and I'm not trying to get political or discuss any of this stuff too deeply, but I thought it was pretty funny because they were, sometimes costumes can go a little too far. Let's put it that way. And what they did is they were doing a comedy skit, so obviously they were trying to be funny, and they had dressed up as Jeffrey Epstein to win the scariest costume contest. And they were like, hey, I'm going to win the scariest costume contest. And everyone was like, no, dude, you can't do that. That's way too far. And he was like, but what's scarier than Jeffrey Epstein? But so, I thought that was kind of funny. But anyways, I wanted to bring that up because I thought that was funny. So the real lore behind Samhain, though, is in the ancient Celtic festival, people wore animal hides and skull masks to disguise themselves from wandering spirits. The belief was simple. If the dead returned to claim souls, you had to blend in, disappear into the chaos of the spirit world, or be dragged into it. Even now, our monsters, such as Ghostface, Michael Myers, Leatherface, Freddy Krueger, well, his face is the mask, but, all the rest of them, they all wear masks. The fear is primal, not just who's behind the mask, but whether anything human is behind it at all. So, is it possible to wear masks, that we wear masks because we're afraid of being seen by what's out there? Or are we trying to hide who we truly are? Real quick, what do you guys think about that real quick? Rob?
That's a tough one because I think for some people putting on that mask gives them confidence in the same way as superhero putting on the mask lets them kind of do whatever without having to worry about who they are. And I think that's the same kind of basic premise with wearing a mask on Halloween. You get to be a goofiness. You get to be a little devil like our own little spider here. You get to kind of act out. You get to play a fantasy that doesn't exist. But for that brief fleeting moment of time, it does exist. And so I think we do that because it's just something that we can, it's almost like an alter ego that we can use and wear for a brief period of time.
Yeah. And what do you think, Spider?
And that's a great point. And it's something that's actually moved beyond just Halloween. I think our culture has seen a massive increase in the number of people doing cosplay. And going to conventions or even just going to parks and just dressing up together. Like, hey, let's all just dress up as the characters from this anime or from this show or from whatever. Let's take some pictures. I think Halloween over time gave some of those people the confidence to be like, you know what? Why can't I just do this all the time? Why can't I pretend to be something more than I am or something other than I am just for a day or so, just for more than just one holiday. And it does give them confidence. Just a lot of people that I've met who are really into the heavy cosplay scene, who don't just put on costumes, but they build things and they carve out armor pieces, or they get some stuff super, super accurate. They're extremely confident people. Like, they're super confident. There's a couple things that can kind of knock that confidence. If they come up and somebody doesn't recognize them, that hurts.
Ooh.
If they come up and something's like they had to leave a piece at home or something missing, it really throws them off. But for the most part, they get into the outfit, they get into the costume, and people recognize, be like, oh, you're so and so. Yeah, that's awesome. And look at, I've seen episode whatever, and they did this. It was fantastic. You're so good at it. And it gives them that confidence boost that maybe they needed. So Halloween is like kind of the entryway for a lot of people into that, because they figure, well, if I can do this with these cheap costume pieces, why can't I do something really elaborate and become something super awesome?
Yeah.
And it's an outlet for a lot of people now to dress up and to be something otherworldly or just something different.
Yeah. Like, it's a good way for people to, like you said, gain confidence, and it's a good jumping off point for them to be something that they aren't normally through a creative process that, like you said, gives them extra confidence. So next up, we're going to talk about carving faces into vegetables. Yep, the jack-o'-lantern. So why do we carve smiling faces into dead vegetables and light them on fire from the inside? I mean, it's kind of weird when you really think
metal
about
way
it.
to say that.
A what?
That was a very metal way to say that. It was very you very much pulled your metalness into that. Nice work.
But it's weird when you think about it. So, like, where did that even come from? So, what do you guys think is the origin of the jack-o'-lantern? Spider, let you go first this time.
I believe it was again back with the Celts, or specifically probably the Irish later on. I don't know if the Celts themselves did it, but the first jack-o'-lanterns weren't even made out of pumpkins. They were made out of turnips.
Yes.
Don't tell my kitten whose name is Turnip over there. But because that's what they had that were prevalent. And the jack-o'-lanterns at the time were another way to frighten off evil spirits or to ward away bad luck and things. Much like the masks. If you want to stop being afraid of something, you embody it. So the jack-o'-lanterns are supposed to look fearsome and spooky and like goblins and creatures of that nature. And I don't remember exactly when the more common switch to pumpkins came, but I think that was something that they did more here in America because pumpkins were more prevalent here than turnips were.
Yeah.
At the time. But they brought the practice over, and it was very similar. And with the flickering candle inside, it was again supposed to look fearsome. To if a wandering goblin came around, it's like, oh, there's already goblins there. Oh, they're scarier than I am. I better not mess with these people. I'm staying out of this territory. And that was the premise.
Yeah. And what do you think, Rob?
I mean, you're going to get into the tale of Stingy Jack, aren't you?
Yep.
Because that's where it basically comes from. At least the pumpkin side of it comes from Stingy Jack. So I won't say nothing else about that.
Okay.
But yeah, that's where our jack-o'-lantern aspect comes from. But Spider's right before that, because pumpkins weren't as prevalent as turnips were, and not the cat, mind you. We don't want that cat getting all upset. They had to do what they had to do. Yeah. Could you like? I don't think I'd be as scared of a face carved on a turnip. You know,
probably
what I mean? Maybe.
I don't know. Turnips are all twisty and weird looking. You see them in the dark, and you see this face. It might look a little bit, you know.
How many turnips are you looking at in the dark? By the way, how many turnips do you have? Do you have turnips?
They do in Ireland.
Turnips, not cats, of course. But I have eaten a lot of turnips. I eat them yearly.
Of course you have. Of course you've eaten a lot of turnips.
Yeah, he bought them from Joan
for Burns Night, which is an entirely different holiday. But you know, you have turnips and mashed potatoes with your.
Sorry,
your haggis.
I don't think I've ever had a turnip in my entire life.
I don't like them
because and only because my parents, like my relatives, came over from Europe. We still don't live there, so I don't have to eat turnips. Okay,
they're good, though. They're good.
I'm not saying they aren't.
They're
but
good.
I ain't never been over to nobody's house. I was like, hey, you want some of this turnip? We're making turnip casserole. Don't tell people that, because people will make turnip casserole. And then no,
no, thanks.
Just put them in anything. But anyway, digress.
All right. So actually, you're both right. It traces back to Irish folklore, as Rob briefly mentioned, the story of Stingy Jack, and he was a trickster who outwitted the devil, but he was cursed to wander Earth after death. The devil gave him only a single coal to light his way, and Jack carved out a turnip and placed the coal inside, thus Jack of the Lantern. But deeper still, some believe the carved vegetable heads come from an even older and darker place. You guys remember that ancient king that chopped people's heads off and inspired Dracula?
Yes, lots of pesh.
Yeah. So actually, over time, turnips became skull stand-ins. When Irish immigrants came to America, pumpkins were easier to carve, so the tradition evolved. But the origin was actually severed heads placed at village borders to ward off spirits or enemies. A very Vlad Tepes thing, right? So, in a sense, the smiling pumpkin on your porch, it's a friendly face masking a severed head ritual.
Well, it's a little bit better than the other thing he used to do with people.
Yeah, you don't. And then he would eat in front of it. He would just
Yeah.
You
out
don't
there and
want
just
to. You
have
don't
a
want to
whole meal.
demonstrate that to your neighbors and have.
No, you probably shouldn't do that.
The
That's probably
HOA
illegal.
is going to come through and have
Yeah.
some complaints about that.
You're probably going to go to jail.
You'll get a letter from the HOA for that one.
You're going to jail.
Yeah.
So,
that
for a bit.
that's
for a bit.
after the letter from the HOA.
Yeah, the HOA is the one who's going to put you. Is going to call the police to put you in jail. Yes,
Yeah.
very, very true.
So,
very true.
if you guys had to carry a carved lantern in the afterlife, what would you carve into it to try to protect yourself? Rob?
Probably any holy symbol.
Okay. Anything in particular?
No, nothing I could think of. Because you could say a cross, or you could say, this, that, and the third. But it'd be something holy, so that I could just be like, no, I'm good. Leave me alone.
And what about you, Spider?
It's a great question because I can be really sadistic.
Please, not again, Turnip Man, not again.
But it would be something primal, probably. It would be something that any spirit could recognize and just be like.
I'm not going to say what I was thinking because it's inappropriate.
It's hard to say. I mean, any primal archetype would work fine, like a snake or some sort of an insect, maybe, because even though you don't think about them being frightening right off the bat, these are symbols of things that have been frightening us for a long time. Yeah. Even honestly, just carve out a hole and don't put any light in it. And then it's the darkness. And that's the most frightening.
That will bring you the most joy. So, if I had to carve, sigils or something on a lantern, for me personally, I think I would carve the infinity symbol, the number 0, and the Eye of Ra. Because the Eye of Ra is like, the all-seeing eye, so I can see further ahead into the distance. Symbolically, of course, And the 0, because I believe the 0 is, essentially like God. It is representative of the source where all life comes from, and nothing would exist without going from 0 first. I don't care what the college math teacher says.
Don't get him started.
And then infinity is, of course, unlimited power, unlimited potential. So I think those 3 things together would be fairly powerful.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So now we're going to get into the origins of bonfires and blood rites. So here's a darker thought. What if Halloween wasn't just about spirits, but sacrifice? The end of harvest, winter coming, starvation on the horizon. Would you offer blood for safety? And we know Rob, you're very light, and Spider is fairly dark. So let's let Rob go first, and then we'll let Spider take us into the darkness when he's done.
What was your question?
Sorry. So my first question was essentially just, would you offer blood for safety? Like, would you be willing to commit human sacrifice if it guaranteed your safety and survival?
I think that would only be proper if I grew up in a surrounding where that was an acceptable practice.
Yeah. Like, for example, if you were in the village where this was happening.
I wouldn't have a choice. I'm part of an ecosystem or a social ecosystem that would involve that. I wouldn't have the option not to. I mean, I could, I guess, have the option not to, but then I might become the human sacrifice.
Yeah.
So it's like, unless you're willing to take on the whole village or get up in the middle of the night and dip out. I would like to think that I would be the person that would say, I don't think we should be doing this, but it's always that person that ends up the human sacrifice. Yeah. So you'd go along with it as much as you could, but I think at some point you'd have to realize that's what I'm looking for here. The futility of consistent sacrifice. You're going to run out of people at some point. Yeah. At some point, you're going to run out of people. And the thing is, back then, you needed people for a structured village. You need people. Well, it's not even that. You need a cohesive unit. And if you're like, well, we're just going to sacrifice people. If I see that as a villager, I'm going to
at any time probably try to break out because I don't want to be sacrificed.
Yeah.
Because how do we sacrifice? Is it enemies we claim? Is it a random drawing? Is it kind of like the Hunger Games type of situation where it's like, okay, we select these 5 people from the village, or it does it move something like that? If not, and it's just enemies, maybe, because then it's your enemies. You don't view them as people. If you have enemies like that, you're not viewing them as fellow human beings. You're viewing them as enemies. So anything you do to them is going to look justified to you and the people that are in the village with you.
You actually brought up a good point by mentioning the Hunger Games, because that kind of reminds me of like the ancient Colosseums in Rome. We never really thought about it that way, but if you think about it, that was kind of like a form of human sacrifice to entertain the king.
Yeah. But all that comes with a price. So
Yeah.
all the blood sacrificing and everything else, there's power in blood. I mean, this is something that's been known for ages.
Yeah.
It's the life force of a human body. It's the life force. So there's a lot of blood's a
Spiritual
very
power.
interesting thing. Yeah, there's a lot of spiritual power behind blood. So
And what do you think, Spider? What would you do if you were in a village doing sacrifices?
Generally, if you're in a small village and you have a small population, then you would, as Rob mentioned, you wouldn't be using people from your village. That's a last resort. That's only if the village is so cursed that you assume somebody in the village is at fault, and that's who we have to find. And you keep going down the list until you find the right person and things start turning around. But generally, there'd be outsiders. There'd be people visiting, wandering traders who just got unlucky, or people they defeated in a conflict or something like that. Smaller populations would not generally risk doing that kind of activity among themselves. Now, that being said, several tens of years, hundreds of years later, even, you would get to places like Salem, where they would just be madness. They'd be like, oh, the witch madness. And they would just, anybody in the village that they didn't like ended up becoming a target. And they quickly found out things of that nature, that the more people we're getting rid of, we're kind of running low on people. We need somebody to work the fields. We need somebody to watch the store. We just hung the shopkeeper last week. Now we need a new shopkeeper. Now what are we going to do? So generally that kind of fell by the wayside in that. But if you were in a larger city, like let's say you were in Babylon or something like that, where you did have evidence of human sacrifice, and some of those other places, you might not know the people on the other side of the city, so you might not care. Just be like, oh, obviously they were a bad person. They're getting sacrificed today. Sucks to be that guy. Mm-hmm. So, and it does come down to the society you were raised in. We like to think that because we're enlightened and we're so smart and we're so moral and everything, that I would never do that, of course, because me right today, if you come up to me on my couch, come in my door and say, hey, we're sacrificing Jim next door, you in? And be like, no, that's a horrible idea. Why would you do that? Get out of my house. But if we're all raised from childhood being like, okay, it's sacrifice time, we got to pick somebody, Jim's the guy to go. Oh, okay, I'll bring the kids over, we'll watch. I mean, I make it sound
we used
casual,
to do it in the dark ages,
but that's how things worked.
Yeah.
And you didn't think much of it because it was an entirely different, and we have a hard time getting into that mindset sometimes. We have a difficult time, but at the same time, it's not that hard because people still like to watch those videos of car crashes and
right on the verge.
World Star Hip Hop, people beating the crap out of each other all the time. Oh yeah, screw that guy. Ha ha ha. That's
Jerry.
World Star. That human nature streak of just not really caring about your fellow man is still kind of in there, unfortunately, as much as we try to pretend it's not. And so I can't say for sure. As I am, as an enlightened person right now on my couch, I can say, sure, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But in the moment, at the time, in a different mindset, I can't speak for myself in that way.
Yeah.
Same. Hopefully we wouldn't, but sorry, Jim, you got to go. But you need crops this year, and you're looking like you're the crop guy, Jim. So time to go.
Because I remember from what I've heard, a lot of it was religious, and they believed that the gods would, punish them if they didn't give the sacrifice.
But then
There
here's
was
the fun
rain,
part.
there was bad harvest.
When they had that bad harvest after the sacrifice,
Yep. They said
there
they
was-
needed to do more sacrifice, right?
yes. So they weren't smart enough to realize maybe that's not how
Yeah.
the weather works. They're like, you know what? We need to amp this sacrifice thing up all the way.
Hey,
Yeah.
Jim has a
Jim
sister. He's
and-
got a brother over there. He's
Yeah.
got Lola over here. Come
Get
on.
Jim and Tony. Tony's his cousin. We'll
Yeah.
get them both. We don't like them anyways. We can 86 them. And then, like Spider said, you get to a point where you run out of people, or you get to a point to where you're driven mad.
Yeah.
So you just think sacrifice is the only way to go, and then that's when the real healing can start, as the kids like to say. That's when you manifest, as the kids like to say, a change, because then you're like, wait a minute, this dude's a despot. He's crazy. We've sacrificed 32 people this week, and it's still raining outside.
Yeah.
Even though, because they don't know weather patterns, they don't know, and it's crazy because a lot of
takes that long.
civilizations knew about weather patterns before civilizations that sacrificed. You did mention the Dark Ages, and you have old civilizations that had weather monitoring techniques and tools that were able to be, okay, the rain's coming this week, or the rain's coming today. We were able to measure the wind pressure. We're able to do something that shows us that, okay, this is a change, right? But then you have these people that come along and they don't know anything, and they take a religious text and they twist it all up so that we can sacrifice. It says right here in this book right here that we can sacrifice.
Yep.
And that's just how it is.
Yep. Like, for me personally, I like to think that, honestly, I would probably start sacrificing people immediately. But later on, I would come to the realization, and I'd be like, hey, this ain't cool.
Is there something you want to tell us? Like, is it? I mean, if so, you get it off your chest.
I'm saying,
I'm do it here. You're gonna get an angry letter from
okay.
me and possibly.
Let's do it then. Let's do it.
So,
I see.
No, thank you. I'm not doing that.
No, I see the ice agents as very
nope.
similar to human sacrifice.
No.
Okay,
nope.
then let's not do it. So what I was gonna say is, I would probably start off with sacrificing people, and then over time, I would eventually come to realize, hey, this isn't cool. We can't be doing this. That's not cool. And then I would start standing up and speaking out. And if they want to kill me, then go ahead. I don't care at that point, because I've come to the realization that this is unacceptable. This is not cool. And regardless of what anyone else thinks, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to speak out what I consider to be injustice, whether it's human sacrifice or other things. And it's just not cool. So the great Samhain bonfires were said to burn animals and maybe people. Some Irish myths speak of Cromcruach, Cromcruach. I'm sure I butchered that name.
Probably
But
correct.
it was a death god who demanded human sacrifice. One legend even describes 12 children offered at once. These were bonfires. Yes, the origin of the word bonfire. Bone fires. There is historical debate, and some say it was symbolic, but in a society facing starvation and disease, wouldn't a bloody offering make twisted sense? Like that old ancient Irish thing. I forgot what it was called, but they taught us about it when I was in school. And it was like this letter they wrote where they were like, hey, we're having a famine. Let's just eat the children. And they meant it as a joke, but everyone took it very seriously and got very offended about it. And that was a whole crazy thing that happened. So here's the next thing I have to ask you guys. Would you burn your enemies for winter warmth? And would you sacrifice a stranger to save your family? Rob, let you go first.
In a heartbeat. I've thought about doing that to Spider when he comes over to my house.
That time I spilled the tacos was pretty.
Yeah, he almost got sacrificed right then and there. I was gonna put it. Oh, it was because that, I mean, it's not even that it was a mess. It's that it's a taco. It's a symbol of goodwill and gesture, and he just chucks it on the floor all haphazardly. No, in a lot of places. I mean, if you have to do it for your family, you got to do it for your family. I don't want to. I'm not here like, yeah, let me start doing these sacrifices. To keep my house warm, no, because human beings don't burn well enough and to keep a home warm. You need something that is consistently warm, and we're too soft.
Yeah.
We're not hard enough. We're not,
We would burn up too
we're not good.
quickly.
We're not good burning material.
Yeah.
That's gonna go out real quick, or it would be like using an animal as a whole, like a cow or a horse,
Yeah.
to stay warm. It's better just
probably-
to cut them open and sleep inside of them like a tauntaun. That's how you want to do that if you want to stay warm.
And what about you, Spider?
Well, the thing about the bonfires too is the symbol of the bonfire came about from ancient days when we first discovered how to make fire of our own. And it wasn't necessarily always just used for heat or light. A lot of times it was used as a ward to ward away predators that were creeping around. You had bears, you had wolves, you had all kinds of just ancient predators wandering around, and they see just a random human by themselves. You know, a single wolf can probably take out most people.
Yeah.
And then you get a pack of wolves, then you're done for. Whereas it's a group of people, that's something different. But if it's dark, you can separate the people. You can get the people running off different directions. If they have a bonfire, that's something else. They can see, and it's something that, hey, this is something dangerous that they have on their side. That's not really approached too close. Animals don't think like we do, but they're smart enough to know danger. That's dangerous. As far as using them for sacrifice, I mean, of course, you have a lot of examples of that throughout history. Again, going back to Salem, they would burn witches at the stake. They did that in Europe, often during the early witch trials and things of that nature. They burned criminals at high profile things, like Joan of Arc, unfortunately, was burned at the stake. As far as using it as like a scapegoat, like, things are bad, who do we throw on the fire this week? I think that goes back to the previous question about the village versus the large civilization. I think generally, if you're going to be throwing people on the bonfire, again, it's going to be people who are outsiders, people who are enemies, people who are not from your local area. So you're not going to really worry about it as much. And you're going to feel good about it that, oh, yeah, we got rid of this potential enemy of our people. This person could have been seditious, or they could have been whatever. And again, would I do so today, sitting comfortably on my couch, even if all the electricity was off and nothing else was going on? No, probably not. You know, just because the whole everything's collapsed, I'm not just going to go out finding people to throw on a bonfire. Because nowadays it's less sacrifice and more trying to hide a body, you know?
Yeah.
And so if you're at a point where things are apocalyptic, you don't really need to hide the body.
Yeah.
But you do need to get rid of it, clean up after yourself. If somebody attacks you, you got to get rid of them, and then you got to find a way to get rid of it so it doesn't attract disease. So it's hygienic at that point. But
Seems like
is
a lot of
that
people can find it.
sacrificing for your family? Maybe. You could see it as that. Is that the sort of instance that I would use it for? Probably, if that kind of thing happened. But just in general spiritual sense, no, not really. And again, at the time, maybe if I'm part of this far-off village a few hundred years ago, I might think differently. But again, from an enlightened point of view, it only makes sense if you're going to do it for hygiene.
All
Yeah,
right.
agreed.
Yeah. So now we're going to move on to trick-or-treating. So where do you guys think trick-or-treating came from? Like, how did we get from all this, human sacrifice and cult rituals to going door to door demanding costumes and demanding candy while wearing costumes? Rob, what do you think?
I used to know this, but I'm drawing a blank on it now, but that's right. If anything, it'd be like somebody up to no good, like, hey, give me some stuff or else I'm going to play a trick on you. Either give me something good, a treat, if you will, or you get the trick. The trick might not be as fun as the treat. So that to me, that's where I think that would start.
Yeah. And what do you think, Spider?
I also knew the answer, and I don't recall off the top of my head. I believe it does have something to do with symbolically giving the spirits something to leave your home alone and not
Yes.
do the trick. Which is interesting because it's not the only holiday where children would go door to door for things. In Europe, they would go to door around Christmas time to ask specifically for coal or different things, like a lump of coal to take home to heat up the holiday hearth
For their
things
bad
of that
brothers
nature.
and sisters.
It wasn't necessarily because, oh, we're poor, we need food. It was because, hey, you know what? We all want to stay warm. Can you give a little bit, like one of your coals? And it was symbolically a gesture of goodwill to be able to help warm up your neighbors and to warm up your family. I mean, you might know the kids that come up and be like, you guys got plenty of coal already. But you know what? It's a thing that you do symbolically. And it comes up through multiple holidays that specifically they send the kids around because the kids are going to pull at the heartstrings and be like, oh, can you give us the coal, or can you give us a treat? Can you give us this? It's only now, I think, in modern Halloween where the kids go for candy and we let them keep the candy. Mostly. There's always the dad tax, of course. But in ages past, it was send the children and then the adults would divvy it up. I mean, the kids would benefit because it's coal for everybody or it's something, but generally you send the kids because the kids are going to pull them heartstrings and they're going to be, oh, look how cute they are. You can have some of this. So, but I believe, again, like I said, it was another symbolic gesture of, oh, you're dressed like evil spirits. Here, go away, you evil spirits. Have a treat. And then you won't bother me. And if you've done a trick on me, I've learned my lesson. I should have given you a better treat.
Yeah. So it was kind of actually a mixture of both of those things. Long ago, beggars in Europe would go door to door offering to say prayers for dead relatives in exchange for something called soul cakes, which were small pastries. It was a spiritual transaction. Pray for the dead, receive a blessing. Later, kids began dressing as spirits or demons and threatening mischief if not given a treat, like Rob said. A blend of pagan mischief and Catholic bargaining. That's where the trick or treat begins. Offer tribute or suffer consequences. It's not a game. It's a ritual exchange. You give to the dead so they won't take from you. If you were a spirit and someone left a Kit Kat on your grave, would you spare them, Rob?
Yeah, definitely. You're getting spared.
Yeah.
Getting one free spare for the Kit Kat. Thank you.
Yeah, one spare for the Kit Kat.
One spare for the Kit Kat.
What about you, Spider?
They gotta leave me alcohol. For life? I'm like one of those Loa from New Orleans. They gotta leave me alcohol. Yeah. You gotta leave me a shot. If you don't leave me a shot, I'm gonna be mad.
But
you don't have to leave them a shot. Just leave them food.
Go get your parents. Have them give you the bottle. Make sure you don't taste it yourself. Just pour it out. Pour it out for your homie over here in the gravestone because I'm gonna
pour one out for the homie. All right, so now we're getting into the interesting stuff. This is this is the highly intelligent part of the episode right here. So, why do you think we enjoy Halloween so much? Why is being scared fun? Is it nostalgia or something deeper? So let's go ahead and let you guys dig in on this first. Rob, what do you think?
I think it's a primordial thing. I think there's just something in us that likes that little bit of living on the fear edge, but not having to fully partake in it. Like we're not actually getting scared, but it's that brief and some people that's some people's
drug
medicine in a way, or drug. That's something they enjoy. They like getting scared. That's why people like scary movies and people like scary things because they enjoy that. Haunted houses, they like getting jumped out and scared. That's their thing.
Yeah. It keeps us on our toes.
So I think we kind of revel in that, to be honest. Yeah. But for the most part, I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's primordial and it's also just something we enjoy.
And what do you think, Spider?
It's definitely an adrenaline spike. It's the satisfaction of knowing that something was after you and could have just murdered the crap out of you.
Yep.
And you lived another day.
Makes you feel strong.
It's another part of, because back in hunter-gatherer times, of course, you had people going out to hunt pretty fearsome things.
Mhm.
They hunt saber-toothed tigers, they hunt mammoths, and a mammoth may seem like, oh, it's just a big elephant, whatever, but mammoths killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
Not because they were necessarily
The
just out
horns?
murdering and whatever, because they're mammoths, but they're huge and they're powerful and they do not care. They will go where they want,
Yeah.
and if you try to attack them, they are going to hit you.
Yeah.
And something that big smacking you is going to kill you.
We saw Ice Age.
So being a person and going out on a hunt, even if you don't do a whole lot, but having the potential where every time you go out on a hunt, you could die every time, and getting back, that's a rush. That's a big deal. You get the fear, you get all that, but you've lived to hunt another day. You've lived to fight another day. You've lived to procreate another day. And that carries forward. We still have that piece in the back of our brain that's like, I don't want to be scared, but I kind of want to be scared.
Yeah.
It's like, because after you've been scared, the feeling goes away. You're like, oh man, that was ridiculous, but I'm still here. I'm still alive.
Yeah.
The girl from the TV didn't come out and murder me. It was just them. Or Freddy didn't come through into my dreams. I'm safe.
Yeah.
And the issue, though, we have is that we tend to push that envelope so hard that a lot of people are starting to get kind of a little bit of a neurosis about it, and people get nightmares a lot more often. We've kind of taken that and pushed it past its limit.
Yeah.
Because of all the movies and all the games and everything that we ingest and that kind of thing. And then you add in hallucinogenics and things like that activate that thing that gives you that fear.
They have whole entire like horror stories about that.
Yeah. And
they do.
And I don't want to demonize any of that, because there's also a lot of good applications for things like that. People are doing that to help cure all kinds of mental illnesses, and that's fantastic. But just a random person taking a bunch of mushrooms every single day of their life, you're pushing that limit. You're messing some things up, and it's the same thing with some of the entertainment we bring in. So being afraid is an important part of being human, because it forces you to recover from that fear.
Yeah.
But being afraid all the time is definitely danger to your
psyche.
It's dangerous to all your systems, your nervous system, your endocrine system, all of them. Like, it's not good. Yeah. It's not good to be in a constant state of fear. It
You got to be careful not to dull yourself too.
It messes with your mental state very badly.
Yeah. So I've always been a big fan of horror movies and fear and all this stuff. And I've always associated it as, like the human primal ancestral memory type stuff, where it's like, why do we have a fear of the dark, for example? Because there used to be something terrifying in the dark when we were, like in ancient times and stuff, and that has carried through to modern times. And it turns out that the whole entire thing is, you guys have heard of Carl Jung, right? The psychologist?
Yes.
He spoke of something he called the collective unconscious, symbols, fears, and memories passed down through culture and blood, essentially the Akashic records. Maybe Halloween isn't about fun at all. Maybe it's actually ancestral memory, a reenactment of ancient fear coded into our very DNA. Or maybe it's a simulation ritual, a safety valve. We vent the fear out, feed the archetypes, honor the dead, and reboot the system. We dress as monsters so that the real ones won't come knocking. So, do you guys think that Halloween might be a forgotten ritual trying to remember itself? Or do you think it's just a silly festival that we do? Rob, what do you think?
I mean, Halloween's a tale as old as time, honestly. Like, it's a very, it has Samhain origins, which also leads into some ancestral worship, and it also leads into dealing with dead, and then you have Dia de los Muerte, and then that's a whole other issue. I think it's a very ancient custom that we've sort of turned into a more kid-friendly custom. I think it's what
Yeah.
we've turned it into, like Halloween candy. You know, I just handed out candy to the trick or treaters this year. I do it every year. You know,
Yeah.
And I think we celebrate it in our own way. But like like we've said, you're not out sacrificing. You're
Yeah.
not out doing the blood rituals. You're maybe some people are dancing around the fire. I know that's a thing with certain covens and witches, and they do those sort of things on Halloween night. But I think for the most part, it's a very much a more corporate holiday
Yeah.
because it's a lot
It's
of
about the
buying
candy.
candy. Yeah.
Yep. And what do you think, Spider?
Most of your well-established holidays like that are definitely based in ritualistic behavior, because in centuries past, that's what we did more. We performed rituals, whether we believed they were going to work or not. It was something that our ancestors did, and we thought, you know what, we should do this. It's better if we do it than if we don't, and something bad comes along. A lot of the Christmas traditions are based on a lot of those things too.
Yeah.
And they've been adapted. Thanksgiving, not quite so much, but Thanksgiving is more of a, hey, we've survived another year. Let's have a big meal about it. Let's be happy about it. And
Yeah.
that was an important celebration also. That went back hundreds of thousands of years. People have been celebrating that their surviving family is all still around, because you would lose people. And then you would basically be like, hey, you know what? All of us that are left, I'm happy we're all here. Let's all eat a huge meal and be happy about it. And that's carried forward. And so it's not really out of the question that some people would still kind of hold older traditions for this kind of thing. Some people see Halloween as a very serious thing. They don't do trick or treating and don't do this. They might dress up things around the interior of their house to ward off the spirits and things. There are still plenty of people that believe in that kind of thing, and I'm not here to tell them that they're wrong. I don't celebrate holidays myself, so then you have to wonder, if I'm not celebrating the rituals and performing the various things, am I causing harm to myself, or am I just a more enlightened individual? Who's to say? Maybe all the terrible, crappy things that happen with my furnace breaking down or my whatever going wrong, maybe that's because I didn't celebrate Halloween for the last 15 years, you know, objectively. But again, they're all based in some form of ritual, most of them, not like Abraham Lincoln's birthday or something. I don't think people are going to ritualize that.
All right, I'll find a way to do that for you.
But regardless, like Easter, even it's based on a lot of things that have been adapted to modern ideas. So Halloween, I feel like even if I don't celebrate it personally, I think it's an important holiday to have for kids or even for grown-ups. I mean, you know, even Christmas, I don't get into it, but at the same time, I'm not going to say, let's get rid of it. Let's be done with it.
We'd have to fight.
We'd have to fight down a little bit.
We'd have to fight.
Smidge. Some people could tone it down just a bit.
But I don't know who you're talking to.
Hey,
Do not know
I'm
who you're
never
talking
going
to.
to say, hey, you got to give that up because it's full of crap. It's not. Just because it's not, to me, it's important. And I think it is important historically, if anything.
Yeah.
Because without it, some events in our history might not have happened, and we might not feel the way we are. And it brings out the best in some people, and it brings out the worst in some people.
Yeah.
But it just brings out something in people, which is very important for a society.
Yeah. And I've always personally liked, you know, as a kid, I appreciated the free candy, of course. And then as an adult, I appreciate the free candy, of course. And I'm just like, but see, also as an adult, now that I am an adult, I don't even really get excited about Halloween anymore. I didn't even hardly celebrate this year. I just worked all night, and then I came home and went to bed. And I was like, because I'm like, you know, I feel like I'm getting too old for Halloween now. Not that I dislike it or anything. I always feel like I'm too busy, you know? And it's just, why do I need to go out and, you know, try to get candy from all these random strangers when I could, even if I did have kids, you know, like even if I had kids and I wanted to get my, you know, candy for my kids or whatever, why do I need to go out and take the kids trick-or-treating to all these other, neighbors' houses when I could just go to the store and get 10 times more candy for, practically free? Well, I get it because, the kids need to go out and have their fun and, the ritual stuff. But I don't know. It just feels a little different these days. So what started off as blood on the soil actually ended up becoming candy in a bucket. But the fear remains, the masks remain, and the dead, they're still watching. So what are we supposed to do about that? Do we continue, having Halloween and going and doing the ritual? Or do we let the fear of the dead being out there stop people from having fun? Like when that clown dressed up a few years ago and caused all that mayhem, So we got to think about that. Like, is it worth it to, protect our safety if it ruins the ritual and fun? Or is the ritual and fun more important than our safety? Or does it even matter one way or the other? Because I'm personally of the opinion that we should just go out and, have fun and not let these bad people stop us from enjoying our lives. What do you guys think, Rob?
I mean, people are going to celebrate it regardless.
Yeah.
You can't put a ban on it. I mean, I'm sure
they've
some
tried.
people would, but I think it's ridiculous. I think it's fine. Go out, get some candy.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself, enjoy your time, and just have fun. That's what these holidays are for. Life's hard enough, man. So if you can have like a little brief window of enjoyment, you should have a brief window of enjoyment.
I agree. Because like you said, they can't ban it. People can go out anyways. Because as I mentioned that, clown issue that happened a few years ago, they actually did try to ban Halloween here in my local town. And we all went out anyways. We just didn't listen. And nobody got hurt. So, And what do you think, Spider? What's your opinion?
People need a release.
Yeah.
They need to be able to either suspend disbelief or just forget about things that are going on in daily life for a day or two. You just need the chance. That's why I play games, because I can get into the game and I don't got to worry about whatever else I got. I'm not playing Action Bill Simulator where let me divide up my money for this month and pay my bills. Oh, no, because that's what I do regularly. I don't got to do that in the game. Holidays, especially Halloween, are the same way.
Yeah.
It's a release for people. It's a way to be somebody different for a brief time. It's a way to cheat on all of your diets for a little while.
Yeah.
Because not even if you're not one of the kids going out for trick-or-treating, you might go to a Halloween party where people have got cookies and people have got
candy.
Adults have treats and things, the punch bowl and whatnot. You're tossing the diet for a couple of days.
Yeah.
It's people need that. If you stay strict to just the same old all the time, the repetition is just going to drive you crazy.
Yeah.
And you need to take a break from that. And even though I don't do holidays, I do other things throughout the year. I take my breaks. I do different things because I know you can't just stick to the same thing day in, day out all the time and still maintain your sanity. And that's an important lesson to teach the kids. One day a year, you get to do this. Another time during the year, you get to do this. Another time of the year, you get to do this. It doesn't matter if you believe in Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny.
There's got to be some fun.
You go out, you have fun. You see your friends, you dress up, you act silly. It's important. It's very important as a society that we have that release to keep the pressure from building up. And as long as we can remember that, I think these holidays, especially Halloween, is going to stick around because that's exactly what it does. It lets us let off that steam in a way that's not harmful. You might have a stomach ache, but you know what? Worth it.
No big deal.
Worth it.
Yeah. All right. So the next time you all check your candy, make sure you don't have any razor blades. And the next time you check your bonfires, make sure you don't have any bones. And with that, I'll let Rob close us out if you got nothing else.
Next week, folks, we are going to be on we're going to do it Friday because our very own Spider might not be around. So if that's the case, then
It
we
is
will be here
Thanksgiving
Friday.
Day.
It's Thanksgiving
Which
Day.
we kind of forgot.
Nothing bad. Nothing bad.
Nope, nobody's gonna be up. People are going to be stuffed to the gills, and they're going to be full of tryptophan and sleeping off their Thanksgiving eat down. So, yes, we'll be here next
Black
Friday.
Friday episode.
The Black Friday
Ooh.
episode.
Oh, nice.
So, anyways, for myself and for my cohorts here, why be boring when you can be uncanny? We will see you folks next week.